believe that partisanship motivated the people who engaged in the practices described in the Treasury Inspector General's report. I think that what happened here was that foolish mistakes were made by people trying to be more efficient in their workload selection.
You knew of our concern of this targeting. You knew of the allegations that had been reported to this committee. We brought you here to talk about it. You had received a briefing that this targeting was taking place, but you did not divulge that to this committee when we were asking you questions about this. You didn't mention targeting based on ideology. You didn't mention targeting based on buzzwords like Tea Party or Patriots or 9/12. You knew that, but you didn't mention this to the committee. Do you not think that that's a very incomplete answer?
I answered the question truthfully.
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this. I think it was on Friday.
Can you assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April 22nd? And when they did find out, do you think that you should have learned about it before you learned about it from news reports, as you said last Friday?
I can assure you that I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG report had been leaked through press.
A few weeks ago that there was an active Inspector General report into the IRS. That was the first we heard. We didn't know the details of it until they came out in the press late last week. Wolf Blitzer asked, when you say a few weeks ago, was it like 3 weeks, 5 weeks, a month? Like 3 weeks ago, I believe. The actual details we learned from the press and learned for the first time what actually happened when we got the Inspector General report late yesterday. Blitzer, as sensitive as this is, the President would have been told by someone that the Inspector General has got a really damning report coming out, Mr. President. You should know about this. He shouldn't have to hear about it from the news media. Pfeiffer, it's just allegations at this point without details. That's not an unusual thing at all.
The testimony from Miller comes under the category of how stupid do you think we are? Here's a guy who says that the IRS openly discriminated against groups on the basis of their politics, but the action was not a political action. It was instead an attempt at efficiency. You've got to be a knave or a fool to say that, and you have to be an idiot to believe it. It's simply a contradiction in terms. It's a matter of definition. It isn't even a matter of facts. So that, I mean, he starts off way out there, and then he obviously was withholding the truth when he went before the committee before and said, well, I answered the questions, but he concealed from them the fact that this was going on. He knew it was a deep concern. He said nothing. And let me just add the last bit of news that we got. How this was released by the IRS. This is peculiar, and I'm not even sure I can understand why. But they decide, knowing the IG report will come out this week, they decide a week ago to plant a question in a closed meeting of the ABA so that Lois Lerner answers it and gives an answer, assuming, I think, that it's going to leak out. But I'm not even sure I understand the logic of doing that. Why not just issue a press release, say it, but to do it in this sort of ridiculously devious way shows you an institution that is sort of given intrinsically to being untruthful and deceptive.
We provided horrible customer service here. I will admit that. We did. Horrible customer service. Whether it was politically motivated or not is a very different question.
Is there any limit to the scope of where you folks can go? How much money do you have in your wallet? Who do you get emails from? Whose sign do you put up in your front yard? This is a tax question? Now, you don't think that's intimidating? It's sure as hell intimidating. And I don't know that I got any answers from you today. You can put anybody out of business that you want anytime you want. And when the IRS comes in here, you're not allowed to be shoddy. You're not allowed to be run horribly. You're not allowed to make mistakes. You're not allowed to do one damn thing that doesn't come in compliance. If you do, you're held responsible right then. I just think the American people have seen what's going on right now in their government. This is absolutely an overreach, and this is an outrage for all America.
By the way, that ended in applause at that point. Charles.
Customer service? You know, Soviet bread shops had lousy customer service. This is choosing who gets the lousy customer service. It's not that everybody got it. It's the choice of who gets it that is the scandal. Otherwise, it would be a story about inefficiency, of which there are infinite numbers, and it wouldn't even be a story. And the idea that the laws are ambiguous. Okay, let's say the laws are ambiguous. So if you want to apply criteria, it could be the size of the organization, it could be chronology, but everybody over the age of 6 would know that it's not the ideology of the organization. There is no law in the world that would justify that. So it's not a question of ambiguity, it's a deliberate attack on people on the right. And that is simply undeniable.
It seems that these cases that were reported this morning have been previously reported. We're not aware of new shipments of these specific missiles. We're not aware of new shipments.
It's at the very least an unfortunate decision that will embolden the regime and prolong the suffering. So it's ill-timed and very unfortunate.
General Dempsey made it very clear that on the specific areas, the missiles, whatever else is involved with the Russians does not help. It makes it more dangerous.
Keystone Cop, State Department says nothing here. Defense Department says this is important. The Russians have shipped high-tech nuke missiles into Syria. And then the response of the Defense Department, well, this isn't helpful. Is that all you can say? This is the Russians stepping all over the so-called cooperation that we are getting. We just sent our Secretary of State into Moscow to negotiate on this. This is a slap in the face. They're equipping openly, as we heard earlier in the show, the foreign minister of Russia saying, of course we're sending arms into Syria, which of course is under an embargo. And now they have a fleet of ships offshore. That used to be a Mediterranean, used to be an American lake. It's now a Soviet lake.
And the CIA,
excuse me, a Russian lake.
yeah, the CIA chief
but he's
is
acting exactly as the Soviets did. It's our colony, and we're going to keep.
Okay, quickly, winners and losers. You want to?
Yeah, winner is Putin. He's showing that he's in charge, and the Americans are completely irrelevant in Syria, which is important. He's got an alliance of Iran, Hezbollah, Russia protecting Assad, and he's actually holding on. The loser, Barack Obama, but I think even more Eric Holder. I mean, he's got a scandal on his hands with the AP dragnet, and his answer is, I have no idea. I recused myself, but I don't know where. It all happened while I was having a sandwich.
This has been a Sunfish production.